Apparently now we're live. Welcome to 0600. What does the O stand for? Oh my God, why are we up at 0600 here in New Zealand? Well, we're here so we can talk to Coach Stephen. Coach Stephen, of course, needing no introduction.
You can create documents.
Do be quiet. Goodness gracious. Steve needing no introduction whatsoever, so we won't give him one. There you go. And look, Steve, there's exciting things happening on your channel around the YouTubes this week. Tell us all about it. Tell us what's going on. Fill these people in.
I certainly will. And it's 7 p.m. in the UK, which is why we're doing it at this time. So thank you so much, Bart, for getting up early and, getting out of your pajamas. It's great. Yeah, so 8 a.m. on the UK on Sunday, the 7th of the 7th. And it was supposed to be sort of a little play on the 24/7. We're doing a 24-hour live stream, 24 hours talking about carnivore, maybe a little bit of keto. Myself and co-host Richard Smith. I will be standing like I did last year, and Bart was a great guest last year, here for 24 hours, basically with a ton of guests coming in. So I'm going to rip through the running order. So you might think to yourself, well, that sounds pretty good. And of course, we got some big names like Ken Berry and Chafee and Kiltz and Dr. Lisa Wilderman and all that sort of stuff. Sadly, Bart was booked in, but can't make it this year because he saw the running order and thought, oh, I'm better than all those people put together. I should have the whole 24 hours. No, seriously, because you've got that funeral to go to. So anyway, right. So 8 o'clock in the morning, you can log in at any time. Obviously, you don't have to do it from the beginning. There are already people saying to me, will I get anything for watching for 24 hours? And I'm like, no, thank you very much for support. Maybe a t-shirt, actually, come to think of it. Maybe, I did the whole 24 hours anyway. And all I ate was meat or something. Right. So yeah, the guests, we've got the Kent Carnivore. Because we're in the UK, the first few guests are sort of UK based. We got the Kent Carnivore, Lee Copus. He is pretty famous online because his colon was destroyed by fiber and plant material. And he's one of those great people because he's now got a bag who can absolutely categorically tell you when he eats food what ends up in the colon or what would have ended up in the colon, and it's never undigested meat. All the nurses he's ever spoken to say exactly the same thing. It's always plant material. So Lee is really intelligent, super guy to talk to, good sense of humor and all that. So that's how we're starting. We're going to have about half an hour with Lee, and the guests are going to come in thick and fast. So talking of thick and fast, Jonathan Griffiths, Carnivore Muscle. Fantastic guy, just won his bodybuilding competition, who is full of good thumbs up to him. Great information, really loves the science, spent many years working with supplements and stuff like that. So he knows his supplements inside out, back to front. But his knowledge is sort of second to none about many things. He's lived it. And when you look at his pictures, wow, he knows about bodybuilding and all that, hence the name Carnivore Muscle. Then we've got the granddaddy of carnivore in the UK, which is Phil Escott. Phil is just basically a great person to speak to. He had arthritis, which he got over. He took out all his plants. He was vegan and sort of, one of those sort of people that was misled. And now he's pretty much carnivore and got over his arthritis, wrote a really good book. Then we got Ben Hunt, who is excellent with the ancestral stuff. There is a meeting in the UK in August where I'll be speaking, actually, and we're all talking about ancestral health, and Ben Hunt is absolutely on the ball. And then we've got some Americans muscling in from about 11 o'clock. We've got Dr. Robert Kiltz, fertility specialist. And by the way, we were trying to go through all the different things, ticking all the boxes, all the different types of people that are carnivore. Robert is just full of great information, fun guy, pretty jacked for his age and all that sort of stuff. Knows his way around the fertility. He's got an office filled with pictures of babies from people that thought they wouldn't have babies because they were told they wouldn't be able to do it, but this way of eating has helped. Oh, then we've got the unknown new doctor on the block, Dr. Anthony Chafee. Last year, this wonderful bloke who's got a huge following, of course, we all know, gave 3 hours of his time up to to kick off the live stream. This year he's given us a couple of hours, which is really good because we were chock-a-block with guests. So I don't think we need to talk about Anthony Chafee too much. In between all this time, and maybe through the rest of the running order, Dr. Ken Berry's assistant has been saying that we're going to try and get Dr. Ken Berry on. He's been on my channel recently. He's traveling on that day, but if he can get on, then he's going to pop in at whatever time. So I'm not doing that as clickbait. We genuinely don't know when he's going to be on, but obviously if we can get him on, we're going to have him on. Then we've got Dr. Rachel Brown, a psychiatrist, top person in the UK when it comes to mental health. She is absolutely brilliant, just spoke at the PHC conference. And I bet no guest has ever come onto Bart K Show and spoken so much and made Bart so quiet, but I have got a lot of guests to go through. Now we've also got a person, what I call an ordinary person, but there's no such thing as an ordinary person. We've got Karen Mills, who's just somebody who watched influencers like Kelly Hogan and decided to try this way of eating and is thriving. And also really good with her experiments. One thing I'm going to get her to talk about is the fact that she upped her calories, whatever they are, these units of heat, she upped them and lost tons of weight. And she's very meticulous. And we all trust Karen because she's just, like we say, just an ordinary person who tries these experiments. Then we've got Bronson Dant. So we're going back to sort of training. Bronson's got a great book out if you're interested in working out and the science of that. And Bronson's going to be joined by his partner, Natalie Grasso, who is also into training. So if you're looking at female or male training, those two are going to be a blast. It'd be nice to have a couple on, and they're going to do a special hour together as a couple. Then we got the shy and retiring Dr. Sarah Zaldivar, who may be singing, will be coming on, talking about her dopamine.
No singing.
Protocol.
No singing.
Then we got, well, I would say the granddaddy of the American carnivore movement, Dr. Sean Baker, coming on. Sean is fantastic, obviously. For me personally, a big influence. I mean, Bart is a big influence. I don't hide that. When I joined MeatRx to do the online coaching certificate, Sean was amazing. He is amazing, and behind the scenes is as great as he is up front. They all are, actually, to be honest. Then we got Colt Milton, another bodybuilder, but he's really big at talking on Instagram and doing remixes, looking at people's ridiculous statements about keto sucking, for instance, the hashtag keto sucks. So he takes them down. Then we got Jake Thomas, again, another UK bodybuilder. It's not going to be all about bodybuilding, but because carnivore tends to make people spontaneously want to exercise, it is an area of interest. People want to work out. So we're not saying you've got to look like a bag of walnuts. You haven't got to get big like Arnie, but retaining your muscle mass. I mean, I'm 60. Retaining your muscle mass is important for longevity. You don't want to be wasting away. Then we've got Pim Jansen.
Who?
And I think, Pim Jansen, someone just popping in. Right?
Queen of Pirates, mother of puppies, the unpoked. Mm. Yes.
Pim is brilliant with addiction. Actually, when I had her on my channel, I was blown away. I mean, everybody I've mentioned there is really good, but I would say when it comes to addiction, she was really on the ball. And what I like about this lineup is everyone has a little different take, and I like the way she talks about things. So, and I'm not saying that because I'm on Bart's channel. That she wouldn't be on the lineup if I didn't think it. And talking of people that maybe others don't agree with, we've then got Craig Emmerich. Craig obviously is one of those, talk about protein sparing, modifying fasting, thousands of success stories, and he speaks a lot of sense. I got a lot of pretty negative comments. Most of my comments were positive when he was on, but there's a few people that just think this isn't right, it's got to be high fat. Well, it doesn't work for everybody. High fat doesn't work for everybody. If your experience, and even people in your group, for instance, group of friends, have all done well with high fat, well, that's unusual because there's always a few people that need to do higher protein, lower fat. So Craig talks about that. Then we got Dr. Lisa Wilderman, who is fantastic. Her area of expertise is obviously sight, vision, those sort of things, because that's her main profession. But she's been a carnivore for like 14, 15 years because it's not sustainable. And 14, 15 years. What's that? I mean, 5 years I've done anyway. Right. She's on. She's fantastic. Really supportive of this way of eating. One of my favorite people, because she did a really good thing when the restrictions were implemented. And I was very much against masks because as a person that's hard of hearing, I wear hearing aids. I lip read. She was really fascinating in how that was bad for people in society who lip read, because masks obviously stop that happening. And I was telling her about pushback when I was saying to people, please, can you take your mask off? I would like to talk to you. Of course, we now realize that I need to shut up about that subject. Otherwise, Bart's channel's going to get taken down. But anyway, that was an interesting thing. Then we got Natalie E. West. Oh, no, sorry, Sabrina Sort, who's really fascinating. She herself did a natural childbirth last year, documented that, but brilliant in the carnivore space. Excellent doctor, talk about bloods and stuff. Then we got Natalie E. West. Again, we talk about addiction. She's in Bart's neck of the woods, which is interesting because last year she gave us a very different take on what was happening around the world. So that was good. Then we did have Professor Bart Kay, but obviously he can't make it because of that funeral. Then it's Dr. Philippa Vardia, a heart surgeon. So if you want to talk about the heart, wow, what better than someone that cuts you open and has a look? So he'll be talking about the ridiculous myth about LDL cholesterol, which there's no such thing, of course, LDL cholesterol. It's we'll be talking about that. Then we've got Emily Harvo, and she'll be joined by Kerry Mann, who is from Homestead How, the guy that's doing the documentary about carnivores, the carnivore lifestyle. And obviously Emily will be talking about her work at the Steak and Butter Gang. Then we've got Jesseline Randall. She's coming in. Everyone knows Jess. She's currently pregnant. The only reason she might not be turning up is if she's giving birth. So I thought that was quite a good pass if she's doing that. And at the end, we're going to wrap up the last hour. So we start at 8 a.m. on a Sunday, and then 7 a.m. on the Monday. Richard and I will do that last hour. Now, last year when we did our 24-hour live stream, I got to the 22nd hour and I had to sit down for about 10 minutes, but I still was presenting. I'm going to try and do the whole 24 hours like this, standing up. Did I eat? Well, there are some other people that might be popping in. So Keto Savage might be popping in. Last year, I did have some keto bricks to nibble on every so often, but I haven't got any keto bricks. So I might actually do a 24-hour fast as well. And believe it or not, after that, there's a 2-hour break, and then I've got football coaching. So I won't be up 24 hours. Soccer coaching. Don't roll your eyes, Bart. There is a reason, actually, I want to talk about that, because I take this, and I'm going to thank Bart for introducing me to the Stem Enhance. It's the only supplement I take. I do try others because I like to be open-minded. I recently tried some liver supplements, didn't really do anything. But when I go to my football coaching, because I now at 60, I'm playing on a Wednesday night and I've got coaching twice a week. When the guy learned that I was 60, he said, "You don't move like a 60-year-old." I would not have believed it. And he wants to sort of know why that is. Now, he coaches a lot of people, and it's not young guys. He coaches all ages. And he said, it's just impossible that you're 60. You move so much better. And I think partly it's down to Stem Enhance. I really do. So at some point, if you can put my link like you have, which is great, on there, I thoroughly recommend it. But anyway, going back to the 24-hour live stream, that's great. You're pointing to online coach at .sorul.com, and you can get the Stem Enhance there. This isn't a big advert. I just wanted to mention it because Richard and I, Richard Smith, the Keto Pro, we were both saying last year it would be very unlikely we would do a 24-hour live stream if we both believed in high carbs. Over 10 years ago, I was a personal trainer that did believe in all the rubbish, high carb being the best way to go, and it wasn't. Simple as that. I was an advanced personal trainer. I was pretty good. I got somebody to the Olympics who was a type 1 diabetic, which is maybe to add a little bit of history. It was when I got into doing the advanced personal training, and it was an opportunity to train someone to javelin throw, actually, at the Olympics. She was type 1, and I wanted a qualification, which is how I ended up being a specialist practitioner in obesity and diabetes. And it was a big learning curve for me, because once I started seeing people outside of that regime, I was getting people coming in and doing really well. And I was saying, what are you doing? And they were saying, I'm ignoring your advice, coach, because I've gone low carb, I've gone keto. And, this is, like I say, over 10 years ago. And I would just think to myself, well, what is that? So I learned about low carb. And it was when I got to age 50, I realized, you know what? I've been told all the wrong things for the last 5 years. This is why my health has gone south, even though I was moving a lot. I was avoiding red meat, avoiding saturated fat, and I was doing lots of activity. As a personal trainer, you got to. I was running 3 times a week. All those medals behind me there, they're all for middle distance running. That's for winning a tennis tournament, a singles tennis tournament. That's me getting my first degree. I had an English honours degree. I've also got a science and physiology one. So I would have to say that my coronary artery calcium scan of 639, my lower left quadrant pain, my persistent colonoscopy need, my pre-diabetics blood, my big stress spot that I used to have here, just getting fatter, basically, and slower and in more pain, showed to me that avoiding red meat, avoiding fat, doing all the things I should do, eating lots of fruit and veg, not smoking, not drinking, doing all the things for the food guidelines was a complete load of tosh. And I've never felt so good. The point being that Richard is the same. He is ultra fit, ended up getting a pro ticket for his bodybuilding, his bodybuilding habit, and winning competitions doing this way of eating. So we're both really passionate. So the live 24-hour Carnivore live stream, which was the world's first last year, and now it's the second annual one, should be a big deal because we're really passionate about it, and we've got all these different stories, all these people coming in, and it should be a blast, I think. So that's what I'm here for, to tell you a little bit about that, maybe answer some questions if they come up, but I hope people can tune in. It's on my YouTube channel, and hopefully you'll all enjoy it.
Brilliant. It sounds like an awesome lineup. You've done a fantastic job putting it together. And, once again, I do apologise for not being able to make it this year. Obviously, that wasn't planned, although we have been expecting for some time that my formerly last remaining uncle was about to shuffle off at any point. Of course, he belligerently held on for months and months and months, and has finally decided to go. And that's both a sadness and a relief. 91, advanced congestive heart failure for some time. And this is a gentleman, or was a gentleman, I should say, who his entire life has been the fittest in the family, the most active, the most orthorexic, the one who had the best diet, following all the best advice on the best diet, and that's where it's led to at the end of the day. So, rant over, mine and his. Goodness gracious, if you think I rant, you should have heard him while he was around. Anyway, so I'll be attending to that this weekend instead, unfortunately. But I'm looking very much forward to doing it again next year. I guess you'll do it again. Who knows? If you're nuts enough. Yeah. So. Yeah. Right. So all of that being said, I guess the floor is open if people want to fire some questions at us for a bit. Yes, absolutely. I would echo the comments of Stephen there with regard to the fine products from Cerule. I'm an advocate of wellness packs containing Stem Enhance Ultra, Sciactive and Plasma Flow for people's ongoing consumption. I'm also an advocate, folks, of you not paying for that. I want you all taking all of those products. I really do, because having been on them myself for 15 years, I'm absolutely sold. But I don't want you paying for them. And there's a very, very simple program in place in this Cereal company that can, I'm not just saying, wouldn't it be great if you didn't have to pay for them? You don't. You can get your products for free. And it's not even hard. So if you're interested in that, contact myself or Stephen or any number of the other Cereal IBO persons around this community who have seen the light and decided to join us. Something dark side, something complete. We will complete your training. Let us know about it, and we'll tell you how to get your Cereal product for free. It's very, very simple. And then every child wins a prize, basically, is how that goes. Acknowledging one or two folks who have popped up in the chat. I've seen semi-retired Bob is here.
He's brilliant.
He's brilliant, and he got me, because he's actually not semi-retired. He's actually properly fully retired. He's retired from driving semi-trucks.
Semis. Yeah. I had him on my channel.
Yeah.
Brilliant guy.
Yeah, he's good. Dr. Abs is here. Good to see you, Dr. Abs, too. Dr. Abs did an absolutely outstanding video very recently on his channel regarding the etiology of heart disease, what causes it and what doesn't. Very, very well done indeed. Absolutely everything you said was correct, I think, in that video, Dr. Abs, pretty much. So I think that those that aren't aware of Dr. Abs already, go and have a look. And also, because he's not me, and because he doesn't behave like me, he's actually got a lot of views on his video, because he's not shadow banned in the way that I am for saying naughty things about stuffs. So, there you go. Of course, the Master Chief is here. Of course he is. Good to see you, Dave. Now, there was a question up here. That's why I was actually pissing around up here. So let's see if I can find it. Here we go. What do I say to my mom when she sees these certain people that have written books, etc., about how to beat cancer with a vegetarian diet? Yeah. Well, I'd say one or two things. Stephen, what would you say?
Well, firstly, if someone has beaten cancer, great.
Good on them. Yeah.
That is great. That's great. And I'm always magnanimous. I think if anyone is thinking about their diet, that puts them in the top 25% of the world, I think, because many people don't consider diet. And I include doctors in that. They don't think diet is important when it comes to ill health. Now, you can't deny someone's personal experience. If they have cancer and they try a vegetarian diet and the cancer goes in full remission, then that's happened. It's happened, and you can't deny it. Whether it was the vegetarian diet or whether it was the removal of other things, and this will also be applicable to carnivore, of course. How can we prove it? This is the thing. So you could have removed, say, seed oils, or you could have removed other compounds, whatever they may be, and you could also get that healthy user bias when people they reverse cancer. If they've done that, they have probably done many things to change their life. I would highly doubt that it would be the vegetarian diet on its own. I don't think anyone in their right mind would expect someone to say, right, I've got cancer, I'm going to fight it, I'm going to do the vegetarian diet and change nothing else.
Yeah.
I just don't think that happens. All right. And I'm also going to say that would be the carnivore as well. I don't think people say I'm doing carnivore and nothing else. And as I said earlier in the 24-hour thing, people spontaneously want to exercise.
Yeah.
People want to get out more. They want to be barefoot. They want to get in touch with nature. It's incredible. So I would.
They want to take some raw products, Stephen, is what they want to do as well, don't they?
Well, absolutely. I mean, if you can increase the amount of adult stem cells being released from your marrow, that sounds like a good thing too.
Yep.
So,
go on.
So I wouldn't be derogatory about anyone that's done that. But the thing is, I mean, there are many stories in the ketogenic space of people reversing and going into full remission. I've got, success stories on my channel. Many people, getting full remission cancer. I lost both my father and my mother and a girlfriend before I got to age 23. I had those three things happen to me. Now, my mother had a 9-pound cancer growth in her colon.
Mm.
And the reason I've got grotty teeth is because she absolutely followed a near vegetarian diet. She didn't eat red meat. She didn't like saturated fat. She had skim milk. She had porridge oats in the morning. She had bran flakes. She had tons of fiber. She had fruit, and she got colon cancer.
Mm.
So apparently all these things that firstly you avoid, like red meat, saturated fat, and all the things you include, which are supposed to be good for cancer, well, they were good for cancer because they promoted it.
Mm-hmm.
So she was fruit and veg, she was doing skim milk, she was avoiding saturated fat, avoiding red meat, and she got a 9-pound cancer growth.
Yeah.
My father died of cancer, different sort of cancer, and I would put that down to possibly that he was a pipe smoker.
Okay.
And I had a girlfriend who had breast cancer. Now, the girlfriend that died of breast cancer, my mother was in and out of intensive care for over an 11-year period until I was 23. I met this nurse who was looking after my mum in the intensive care unit. And she was absolutely into the vegetarian lifestyle, or vegan actually, and very, very fit and active, really interested in her health. Again, the same sort of story, avoiding all the things that the food guidelines tell you to avoid. And she died in her 20s of breast cancer. So
terrible.
my personal experience is that avoiding red meat and avoiding saturated fat does not stop you getting cancer at any age. And eating plenty of fruit and fiber, veg, does not mean you're not going to get cancer, because I've seen it. So going back to that phrase, objective reality, my objective reality, and also now doing over 15 years of rehab, of which 10 has been low carb, keto and carnivore, I would say you've got much more possibility of success in putting things into remission, all types of illnesses, by eating this way as opposed to vegetarian. But never ever going to denigrate somebody that has reversed cancer and sorted out their life.
Yep. Very, very politic. Well done. Dr. Abs is asking whereabouts is the stream happening. It's on Stephen's channel, Abs, and that is at Coach Stephen on the YouTubes, yes. At Coach Stephen.
Yep.
Dr. Abs would be a good stand-in for me, perhaps, for my hour if you haven't already filled it. He would also give you a good oil on heart disease and exactly the way I would. And he has a fast, burgeoning and growing YouTube channel as well. He's also UK-based. Yeah. He's also an MD in the UK who has seen the light and has turned his back upon His Majesty's NHS. Good lad. We like it.
Oh, yeah.
We like it a lot.
Yeah. Well, can he email me? I'll give him. I'm quite happy to put my email out.
Okay.
Which is zerocarbcoach@gmail.com. So if you want to email me, we'll try and fit you in.
Excellent.
It'd be great.
Excellent. Very good. All right. Let's scan for a few questions. Here's one. When will I write a book about cardiovascular pathophys? I've got a bloke I'm working with who's onto it a bit, and that's one of the topics that'll be in the book, absolutely. My problem, Abs, probably as you'd well understand, is that being a full-time influencer, running a YouTube channel, conceiving of, recording, organising, the editing of, putting the whole thing, it's actually a 60 to 80 hours a week job. So, I do not have time to sit down and write a book. So I've got a bloke that I'm working with who knows how I think and could shadow write it in a way that's convincing, and then I'll go through and edit it, and so it'll happen at some point, maybe, who knows. Right.
Can I add something there?
Please, yeah.
Well, firstly, definitely write that book, Bart. That would be brilliant. I have written books, and over the last decade, I've been giving private blood tests, or having the facility to offer private labs. And I took copious notes about different situations and kept all the feedback from people. And I put a book together basically called The Guide to Blood Tests in the Context of Keto, Carnivore and Low Carb. And that book's been very popular because it talks about real life. It talks about blood in general. What are blood tests? What's the benefit of blood tests? And then what are the downsides of blood tests? And why do we interpret these readings the way we do? And the often troublesome ones tend to be ones that are calculated, estimated, or have some sort of opinion attached to them. So things like the HbA1c, I talk about that, why that can be artificially high compared to, say, your fasted glucose and your fasted insulin and C-peptide. So I talk about that one. I talk about the EGFR, which is often thrown out, and there was alternatives to that, which is much better for kidney function, and LDL. Talk about that. Again, I mean, that is a calculation. That's not a direct measurement for most people. So we talk about that. So that's available. If you look in the Guide to Blood Tests in the context, low carb, keto, and carnivore. And the other one I wrote was How to be Carnivore, which is, like 6-7 years of notes, and which I put into a book. And you can get that from my store, or you can get it from Amazon or Apple. And the Guide to Blood Tests is on Audible as well. So
awesome. Very good.
There you go.
All right. So, Jonathan, tell us, what are you excreting and or exuding specifically there that we should be concerned about? Because, well, everybody urinates and has other excretions from time to time. So which ones are you talking about that are potentially problematic in some way? So my short answer to your question is not necessarily, other than the normal course of physiological function. Anything there that I'm missing that's obvious, Stephen? I know it's early in the morning for me and not so much for you. What's Jonathan on about?
Well, Jonathan's on about waste. The body decides what it needs to excrete. And obviously the urine is a way of excreting stuff that's just the same as breath and sweat. The body is amazing at getting rid of stuff and regulating stuff. Yeah. So when you urinate, you haven't got to be a rocket scientist to know that it's getting rid of things. So if you go to let's talk about diabetes, just very basically, right? So one of the symptoms of diabetes is unbelievable thirst and frequent urination, right? So what's wrong there? Well, what's wrong there is you've got too much glucose in your blood. So your brain is really...
No, it's insulin resistance, Stephen. Insulin resistance is the cause. Fucking idiots.
I am. Fancy missing that.
Yeah. No, it's elevated blood glucose. Yes. Sorry, carry on, Stephen.
So your body goes, well, let's dilute the blood glucose by drinking lots, and then let's wee it out, which is where we get diabetes mellitus from, which is sweet piss, basically. That's what it translates to. So the body's really smart. So when you've got urine, that's excess fluids, and it can obviously, well, Bart knows more about this. It can indicate if you're too acidic or not. I'm just ribbing him there. It's a regulator of all the bodily functions, and same with coming out the other end. And this is why there's a big hoo-ha when people start pooping less, because they're eating food that doesn't need to be pooped. They're eating food that needs to be utilized for structures in the body. And if you're eating something that needs to be pooped out, and you can't digest. And again, I'm very good at sort of talking about literal things. If you look at what fiber is, which is an indigestible polysaccharide, that's many sugars you can't digest. Well, there's a clue there. So you stick that in your body and it poops out the other end. So when you go to carnivore, it's stuff that at that moment your body doesn't feel like it needs to retain and utilize or can't utilize at that moment. And I think that's one of the things people think, oh, well, I'm constipated. No, you're used to pooping 3 times because you used to stuff a load of fiber down your neck, and your body doesn't want that. And that's why I'm coming back to the diabetes thing. Your body knows what it needs and what it doesn't need, so it will excrete it. And that's it. I mean, that's the whole thing. So if you take breath, for instance, if anyone's saying, well, your urine is showing a negative thing, or your poop showing a negative thing, well, then breathing is, because you have to get rid of carbon dioxide. Well, it's a function. It's a function of life. So nothing wrong with number 1s and number 2s.
Yes, but don't listen to that Canadian bloke that tells you to consume your own leavings. Excretions and things.
Oh, right. Well,
all you do is you just drink your own piss. That's all you do. Energy out your asshole. It's incredible. You know what else is great? Sugar. You just eat sugar. Tons and tons of fucking sugar. That's all you do. Okay. All right. Good. Lovely. Yes, the series on pH. Yeah, the backwards and forwards with Dr. James de Nicoli Nobles. Yeah, incredible, this boy. Here's a paper that absolutely proves Bart K wrong. And then he goes through the paper, and it's an opinion piece with not a single data point published in it.
Yep.
Absolutely proves Bart K wrong. Okay, James. Good. I think I'm waking up. So it's this.
I think you are.
There's this oxalate juice here. Yeah, incredible. All right, good.
What are you drinking there?
Coffee with heavy cream.
Ah,
yeah.
Here we go.
Coffee, double cream. Yeah. Oh, Jesus, Tommy. Really? Really, son? Really? I wouldn't use them myself. I think that there's probably not much of an indication for that personally. I do have a colleague that does use them in her clinical practice for folks with bile issues. And I'm not going to argue with her. That's her thing. I wouldn't do it myself, personally.
Probably. Do you want me to comment?
Oh, you can. Absolutely, Stephen. You bet. I'd maybe start with not doing that, eating the bad stuff on the weekend. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
hey, Rick.
I think if you're doing that, you're eating the wrong things in the first place. It really is that simple. And I think, I've years ago, I experimented with hydrotherapy, as they call it, where you have everything flushed out, and it does make you feel good, but it's just temporary. I wouldn't do it now because I feel good all the time. And that's the difference. If you're considering that, it's because of the second part of the question. You're eating stuff that makes you feel like you need that. Well, if you, going back to what I said about the volume of poop, for instance, I don't feel like that. I mean, seriously, one of my videos, one of my guests said, now when I fart, it's an event. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. I used to, be quite gassy up until I went low carb. And now if I was to do that, if I was to admit some gas, it would be like, oh, wow, what have I done? How's that happened? Humans don't go around farting all the time. It's really that simple. So I think if you feel like you need a coffee enema, you need to sort out your diet, because basically you shouldn't feel like you need to do that. Yeah,
agreed. Absolutely. Rick, good to see you. Good to see you. Yes. Eat duck food and poop some more. Okay, good. Yes. Look, for anyone that's had your head somewhere warm and moist for a long time and doesn't know who Rick is, 40 years carnivore is Rick. 40 years. It's not sustainable though, Stephen. Not sustainable. No. Yeah.
He's a great bloke, Rick, and a big supporter. Actually.
Yeah, he's good fun. Good fun. Right, how long to adapt to this way of eating? Oh, here we go. What do you think, Stephen? How long does it take? How long is a piece of string?
Well, twice the distance from the middle to the end is the answer to that first
Absolutely. Very good. Like it.
So, depends.
Yeah.
And this is one of those things where I talked about this the other day, where what you see online, when you see the miracle, 7 weeks, I'm off my metformin, this happened, that happened. Why is my adaptation taking 20 weeks? Well, the reason is because when it takes 20 weeks, 26 weeks, a year, that's not exciting. So people aren't going to click on that. You're not going to see lots of videos like that, but you will see lots of videos like, I did this for 4 weeks and this is a miracle. So firstly, you get this distorted view that everybody on carnivore, apart from you, it's really quick. And that's not the case. When you adapt, you've got to think, I came to age 50. So for 50 years, I didn't eat correctly. I'm not going to adapt instantly. And also I did the long road. I started low carb, then I did keto, and I did 5 years of low carb, then keto in total. And then I did 5 years carnivore. So my realistic answer is, on an average, I've had over 1,000 clients now, 26 weeks plus or minus 6 weeks is about ish. Good. The longest I've had is a year. weirdly, that person was an endurance cyclist. And when they got to the year, their performance went up in such a way that they became the top cyclist in their club by quite a distance.
Yeah.
But that year was quite a struggle for her because she did trust the process. She did see other people doing really well, but it wasn't happening for her. So that was quite a hard coaching session. When she got to that year, and it was weirdly, she said, like a switch, but it isn't, because it's a year of adaptation. But it was for her in her endurance. So I'm going to try and make it very realistic for people. 26 weeks plus or minus 6. Good. If it's sooner than that, magic. Come and do a success story on my channel or Bart's channel.
Yeah, these are the kind of people I refer to, Stephen, as hateful bastards.
Yes.
I went carnivore and everything was solved in 5 minutes. Well done. Good.
Yes.
The rest of us struggle.
Yes.
Right, 2 questions.
But it's not the diet. It's not the diet we're struggling with. It's the body revert.
Yes.
This is the other thing. We're not actually adapting to it. We adapted to the wrong way of eating, and we're reverting to how we should eat.
Correct. Yes.
And that is the thing that people forget. And that because we all fall into it, we just did about adapting to this way of eating. Well, actually, it's rebooting or resetting to the way we should eat. And we've spent 50 years adapting to the wrong way, and we've ended up with issues. So that hasn't even worked, that adaptation. So let's go back to how we should eat and look at it that way as well, and accept that it's going to be worth it in the long haul.
Indeed. Good. Right. Richard says he has 2 questions. Clearly you haven't read the rules, Richard. You have to pay twice for 2 questions. Goodness gracious, 2 questions indeed. Right. First question. Does he believe sungazing is beneficial? Which he? Me? No, I don't. Not staring directly at the thing anyway. And what are his thoughts, I guess, each, on salt? Some people say salt is rock and not digestible. Salt is rock. Well, no, you can't digest the ions that are released into your body fluids when you consume salt, because they're not digestible things. But certainly they play a role in your body, absolutely. Your salt is a requirement in my humble estimation. You have pretty good instincts on that when you've been doing it for a while, as to when you fancy salt and when you don't fancy salt. I would listen to those instincts particularly. What I would do, however, and then I'll turn it over to Stephen, is I would stop listening to fucking imbeciles like that guy who can't even spell his name without a number in it. Salt is rock, stare at sun, earth is flat, drink girlfriend's menses, and then beat her up. I'm a bit stabby. You need to be a bit more discerning about who you listen to, folks, online. Sure, maybe it's comedy for you, whatever, but that guy absolutely is not someone you should take remotely seriously, not for a second, in terms of what he has to say. Right, Stephen, all yours.
Well, firstly, I don't know the guy you're talking about, and but it sounds quite comical. Right.
We're talking Spherio.
There is a difference between gazing at the sun and being in the sun. I think getting sunlight into your eyes might be, somebody has misread that as looking at the sun. I'm not saying to do that. That's ridiculous.
No.
But getting sunlight into your eyes, morning sunlight in particular, is good, obviously, for other reasons, like the nitric oxide, as the sun rays come through the atmosphere at a different angle and all that. But things like the glia, the Muller glia cells, so glia is Latin for glue, and people used to think that the glia cells were just structure. And now we realise that the Muller glia cells, which was a discovery in the eye, are more like fibre optic cables that do run like into the back of the eye. So I think there's a lot to learn about light entering the eye, but not by looking at the sun. I mean, just literally being outside. And I think going back to objective reality, who feels better sitting in an office with no windows compared to sitting in an office with a window? And, you know, there are studies about, which has just come out about, dementia patients actually, and they experimented with by a window or without a window, and the stay in hospital was reduced by 4 days by just having a window where they were. So I think sunlight is very important. I know you have to open the window, by the way, before people say, yeah, it's a window. These were people that were in a lab to be observed, so they had to do that, but they had open windows for sunlight, and they sat. But anyway, right. So sunlight is important, definitely. Don't forget the production of vitamin D through the interaction with your skin and cholesterol and all that malarkey. So yes, do I think sun gazing is beneficial? No, but do I think being in the sun is beneficial? Yes. What are my thoughts on salt? Exactly what Bart said. They're very important, obviously, for the action potentials, for instance, in your body. You do need sodium, potassium, you need all the minerals, all the electrolytes. So it's important, but it's not there to be digested. It's not making structures, but it's making movement. It's making processes happen. So I'm wondering if they're thinking, do you need to salt your food? Well, that's what your taste is there for. I mean, if you don't have enough salt, you will crave it. If you're getting enough salt from your food, so for instance, I used to live in Rye, which is down by the sea. The lamb there, you would never need to salt the lamb on your plate, because it was beautiful. I mean, it basically was salty because it was living on marshes that were right next to the sea. So I think we need to get in touch with our taste buds and just understand that we have taste buds for a reason. We crave things for a reason, like that. If you need salt, your body will tell you. Obviously, we've talked about excreting. So if you're doing lots of activity and you're sweating, you're losing salt, you're losing electrolytes through your skin. So you have to replenish them. But I think it's an interesting question. But yeah, don't gaze at the sun and don't put salt down your neck unless you fancy it.
That's it.
And there's that phrase, too much. If you salt it and you go, oh, it's too much salt, it's not that salt is a problem. It's because you've been an idiot and put too much on. Too much. You can have too much anything, too much water. So just be sensible. Just salt to taste is the phrase, isn't it? So just do that.
Yep. So what's the physiological reason why some people can do well on no salt version of carnivore? I'm almost 3 weeks on no salt, and doing well is consume less, excrete less. The reason we can do well. I think the longer a person is carnivore, the less salt you will fancy, the less salt you will require, because your body will readapt to retaining the salt that is inherently contained in your food, and you will need to add less as you go along. Or you can throw the whole baby out with the bathwater, and you can take hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of grams of carbohydrate a day, including hundreds of grams of fructose. And then you can say cowabunga and dude online a lot and be as credible as fuck. You could do that too, if you want. I suggest you don't do that. Your instincts for salt are going to be good. The longer you go, the better it gets. Anything to add to that?
Yeah, well, and obviously insulin plays a role, doesn't it? Because, insulin affects the kidneys and your water and salt retention. So your insulin state is going to be different, your insulin sensitivity, or however you want to word it, how good your cells are at dealing with what the demands are. So, it's the physiology of the person. I remember, the steak and butter gang with Bella there. She did a lot of salt and then she went off the salt and saw an improvement in her health. And I think that's because she started to do exactly what you just said. Just got more used to it. Management. You improve, don't you? This is it.
Yeah.
Our body is not static. You improve. If you do any sport, for instance, you improve. So you might need less steps. Let's say you're a 100-meter runner, right? And you practice and practice, and you counted your steps. And let's just say you did 100 strides. And then all of a sudden you were doing 95 strides. Well, your stride length has improved. Doesn't mean your legs are longer or anything's changed other than in your physiological adaptation to the way you run. And it's just the same with salt. If you start off from a standard American diet, standard Western diet, and then you start eating this way, you're going to change. And therefore your inputs are going to change and what you desire. and your body's going to say, oh, wow, we can handle the water better because we're not eating all that stupid fiber. Well, if the water's different, our electrolyte balance is going to be different. So we're going to need less salt or more salt, depending on what the situation is.
Yeah. John, 1 year carnivore with low flow urinating. Okay, number one, we'll have a look at your salt intakes. Number two, let's look at your fluid intakes. Number three, let's look at your diet. Number four, go and have a chat with your GP and get your GP to have a look at your prostate, John. I would suggest. Anything else on that one, obviously, Stephen, you think?
Yeah, I mean, the basic rule of thumb is you should be able to clear, and this is obviously mainstream stuff, your bladder in about 21 seconds when you're my age. But some days that isn't the case, and some days it's faster, some days it's slower. Yeah, all the things you just said, I think are pretty interesting. Yeah, get it checked out if you're worried about it.
Yep, absolutely. It's uncomfortable, but it's better to know than not, I think.
Well, like you said about the prostate, I mean, just to explain that, I mean, that pushes up. If it's inflamed, it pushes up onto the bladder.
Yeah.
You know, and gives a false reading because you basically push the level of the fluid in there up. There's not more fluid. It's just you've pushed it up with this inflamed prostate. So your urination or desire to urinate is affected by that enlarged prostate. So it's worth having a look at that, definitely.
Yes. Very good. Right. So according to vegans, we should be eating like gorillas, and that would involve eating your own shit. Okay. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Because that's what gorillas do, among other things. Also, gorillas will happily eat meat if you put it in front of them, or if they can catch it.
Yep.
Yeah. Also,
I'm not going to be.
Go on.
I'm not going to spend 80% of my day chewing.
No. Either. Also, gorillas have a functional cecum, and we don't. Also, gorillas do have sharp, pointy teeth like this, so I'm confused. Yeah, I don't know.
We have brains.
Yeah.
Develop tools, don't we, really?
Indeed. My urea is super high, like 15 millimole. Is that a problem? Lucas, what I would do in that circumstance is I would go and get a suite of bloods. I would look at I would get the suite of LFT tests, liver function tests. I would also get a suite of tests on your EGFR, your estimated glomerular filtration. I would be interested to know what you are eating and what quantities, because that can have an input. Are you eating any fruit or fructose containing anything, including honey? Because that'll do it as well. How the hell does that work, people say to me? How does eating fructose or anything containing fructose affect your urea? Well, here it is. In your liver, there is an isoenzyme of, it's called KFK, ketofructokinase. And that's an enzyme that requires the activation by ATP, but not in the usual way, not in the way that takes a free phosphate group off the ATP, leaving ADP plus PI behind. No, this is an enzyme that whips two phosphates off at once, leaving behind AMP. AMP is an allosteric inhibitor of its own production. So in order to keep that going for you, what your body then has to do is deaminate the AMP to IMP, inosine monophosphate, leaving behind an amino group, which then gets transmuted to urea. So that's a possibility. What else, Stephen, that I've forgotten or can't think about at 6:54 in the morning?
Well, it's 7:54 in the evening here, and I would actually recommend having a cystatin C test, because one of the things with this way of eating, with the higher protein, you can get an artificially low EGFR, and I can give you some actual stats off the top of my head.
Absolutely, please. Yep.
Right. I've had an EGFR of 30, which is you want it above 60. It's estimated GFR, where the cystatin test actually showed the filtration rate to be 112. So it can be that dramatically wrong, because GFR, the GFR calculation is a calculation based on a few assumptions. And obviously, like you said, just for people that don't know what those tests are, I mean, you need your creatinine looked at, but I would definitely need a bit more context. Definitely need a bit more context. But anyway, what you were doing, what you said, Bart, absolutely right.
Yeah.
Bang on.
Of course it's right. Goodness, Stephen. Goodness gracious. Here's a paper that proves Bart K. Absolutely wrong. Good, let's hear it. All right. We already know that medium intensity cardio is a bad thing. Good, you've been listening. I like it. But I am wondering, how would someone know that their running and heart strength is good for their age? Well, why do you want to compete?
Can I start with that?
Yeah, absolutely. But you can, Stephen, but I would probably summarize the whole thing by saying, why would you want to compare yourself with everybody else? Anyway.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
There you go.
You're not competing against anybody else. You're competing against yourself. Now, I say this because I have people in my rehab clinic that can't get out of a chair. All right. So what's intense for them? It's getting out of a chair. It's not compared to somebody else. You know, Bart and I probably get out of a chair quite easily, but they don't. So it is, you are competing with yourself. If you go out and you try to run and you can't run 10 meters, well, running 10 meters is a pretty hard, high intensity exercise for yourself. And you've just got to accept that you are not where everyone else is. As long as you improve every day, that's all that matters. Compare yourself to what you did the day before and see if you can improve. And even that's not linear. You will have days when you can't be better than you were yesterday. But as long as a trend over 3-4 months is improvement, then things are going fine. Don't sweat over what other people are doing. Don't sweat over stupid, arbitrary things that you should be doing. You know, if you see an influencer saying you should be able to run 100 meters at age 60 in 15 seconds and you can't do that, hey, you know, what can you do it in? Let's say you can do it in 22 seconds. All right, you're slower than a lot of people. But if you can run that in 19 seconds after 3 months of training, that's a huge increase for you personally, and that's great. And do you have to run 100 meters? I mean, what's relevant to you is what you need to be able to do. Your activity levels should be relating to sort of function. So if you are somebody that likes walking, and walking is an important part of your day, like walking your dog or something, and you can only get to the end of the road, or maybe try to get to the end of the road and then further on to the post office. I mean, it's really simple. Exercise is really simple. You have to push yourself to get a physiological sort of, limit, get to a physiological limit and get a training response. It's all about the training response.
Absolutely.
It's not about killing yourself.
All right. Just checking in with you, Stephen, that you're okay for time. We are coming on to the end of the planned hour, but obviously I don't have anything else planned at 7 o'clock in the morning. How are you at 8 o'clock in the evening, your time? Are you happy to carry on?
Let's do a little bit more.
Absolutely. Good. Let's do a bit more. I always like a bit more. I'm never satisfied, me. Right, so Lucas says that he doesn't eat fruit, which is good, and then gives us a list of things that he does eat. And one of those things on that list is a problem as far as I'm concerned. Well, maybe two. One definitely, and two possibly. Guess amongst yourselves as to which one is definitely probably likely to be not useful, and the other one is probably meh. What do you think, Stephen? Which of those two things would you get rid of off that list of things that
Can you
Lucas...
read it out? Because your screen is very minimised for me.
Of course, absolutely right. So the things that Lucas does eat is 1 kilogram of beef, some organs, including liver, tongue, heart, bone, marrow, glass of raw kefir, 5+ eggs, and once in a while mackerel, 2 ounces of fermented cucumbers. No sugar, no additives. Right, tell us which one of those. Tell us which 2 of those things is no good.
Well, I don't see what the fermented cucumbers. I don't really get why that's in there. But obviously, seeing somebody. No, actually, I'm going to backtrack. If you feel optimal on that,
don't fix it.
And you then take them out, and you don't feel as good, and you take them out for 2 months. I will be very surprised. So you may be one of those people that does well out of that, but I really doubt that. I can't see how that would confer a benefit in any way. Obviously, the beef's good. Right, organs. You don't have to eat organ meat. You really don't have to. Again, some people like it. I like a little bit of lamb's liver, but I eat it because I sort of like it a little bit. But I'm not eating it because I've been told I need to eat it. I don't think you have to have it. Heart, I would eat if I'm on a budget. Heart is a very cheap way of getting some good quality meat. A lamb's heart is about £1 in this country, the UK that is, and it's nutritious. But again, if you're eating it because it's an organ, I don't think you need to do it. But if you're eating it because you're on a budget, that's a good reason. Bone marrow, I like bone marrow, and again, that's good on a budget. You can get a really big bit of marrow bone from Morrison's, which is a supermarket. I am not sponsored by Morrison's, for about £3, and it's nutritious. So we've lost the list. But anyway, I would say the organ meat. No, you don't have to, and the cucumbers. That would be mine.
You covered the two things I was after.
Oh, kefir. I missed the kefir. So,
yeah, okay.
So dairy. Problematic for many people. Some people love it because they believe it's good for the gut microbiome. Jury's out for me. I don't think you have to have that, but
absolutely.
I also get why some people think it's working well.
Brilliant. Yes, you've covered it in spades. Good. I think we've covered the snake diet guy already. Maybe you missed that earlier. Look, I'll tell you what else is fantastic for energy out your ass and losing weight. All you do is you just take crack cocaine all day. That's all you do. Great.
Is it Cole?
Yeah.
Cole Robinson?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolute.
Is this true? He's recommending that you should eat 100 times more sugar than you need.
His latest thing is the 100% sugar diet. All you do is you take snake juice and you have fucking sugar in it. You just drink fucking sugar. That's all you do. Lose weight, have energy out your ass. It's fantastic, fatty. Jesus. Okay, I get the need. I get the need to and to hook people in and to be a bit of a showman and stuff, but I think there's a limit to it. At some point, you got to stop the ridiculousness, don't you? Yes, Ted agrees. Good.
Yes.
And now I've got to pay him an appearance fee.
But he's worth it, I suppose. The thing is, and I will say this, I mean, you need 5 grams of sugar in your blood, if we want to call it sugar, and we've got 5 litres. All right, so just people out there, just imagine 5 litres of blood or 5 litres of fluid, and you get your little teaspoon of sugar and put it in there. That's what your body wants. That's what it's aiming for. Anything above that starts making you diabetic, by the way, and it's not many more teaspoons. It's not even a teaspoon will make you officially diabetic. All right, so this guy's telling you to have 100 teaspoons in 5 litres of fluid. Yeah. Sorry, it's a no-brainer. I think.
Yeah, and so is he.
I like him.
Other than he's worked out how to get an audience to watch his ridiculous nonsense. I'd probably do something similar if I could actually bring myself to say things publicly to people that I know to be absolutely false. My kind of moral compass is, okay, play the buffoon, act up a bit, enjoy yourself, but for God's sake, make sure everything you say is absolutely robust and correct. Utilitarian and, safe and effective and safe. So there you go. Anyway, strategies to deal with deuterium. Deuterium depleted water is quite expensive. Yes, here you go. Take your however much water you think you might want to drink that day, the day before, out of the tap or wherever you're getting your water from. Put it in the freezer for long enough that it gets a cap of ice on the top. Discard that cap of ice on the top. Now you've got deuterium depleted water, because deuterium water freezes before non-deuterium water. There you go. That's cheap. How's that?
It's really simple, isn't it? Because water
Yeah.
is the primary source of deuterium in your diet.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. That
Simple.
and plant-based fats are quite high in deuterium too. Shall we do a roundtable discussion on fat loss? Yes. Anytime you like, Jonathan.
Hey, it's Jonathan. Fab.
Yeah.
Hey, Jonathan.
If you send us an email around, both Stephen and I, or whoever else you want, and we can have as many people on a round table as you want. That's the beauty of round tables. They can be made bigger to fit more people around them. All good. Yes.
Well, although I'm insulted here because it says fat loss. Bart, me, that's him, Jonathan, and one other.
Yeah.
Not me.
I just said one other. Maybe he's got somebody else in mind, Stephen. That's rude, isn't it?
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Yes.
We love you anyway, Jonathan. There's nothing you can do about it. What do you think about drinking milk for protein if training, or whey creatine for strength training? Well, what's wrong with meat for protein?
Well, I'm with you 100%. I don't need to add it.
Good.
That's my answer.
Good. Yeah.
Fatty meat is better as well. I think one of the things I said earlier was about Craig Emmerich and, being quite lean with the protein, but even protein that's in his diet still has fat. You need fat. One of the things the reason why fatty meat works is because you promote some bile into your system, and bile is needed for the absorption of amino acids. So I think, there's nothing better than fatty meat, really.
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely. What is the maximum amount of Stem Enhance when going to have a total hip replacement surgery? Okay. The maximum effective dose of Stem Enhance is 16 capsules per the day. Probably best taken as 4 times 4. It's not that there is any evidence or even suggestion that more than 16 capsules is dangerous or toxic in any way, because it isn't, apparently. The issue there is that you physiologically top out at around about 16 capsules a day. So there's a lot of room to increase above the suggested dose on the bottle, which is 2 capsules once or twice per day. And you will get further increased adult stem cell released up to 16 capsules a day. Now, if you were paying for that, that would send you broke pretty quickly, I would imagine, if you were doing that for any period of time. Luckily, as I mentioned earlier, you don't have to pay for Sorrel. You can get it for free. All you need to do is email Stephen or myself, and we'll tell you exactly how that works. It's very, very simple. It's not even hard to do. Very, very easy indeed. As I said earlier, and I'll repeat it again, I want everybody in the world taking this product, but I don't want you paying for it. Up to you. All right, there it is.
So can I ask a bit of nuanced question there?
Yes,
because you were
please.
saying about a total hip replacement.
Yeah.
Can we just fill that out a little bit more? Would you be doing that before? And how long before, if yes? And how long afterwards?
Well, I would have been doing it beforehand because I take the stuff religiously, for want of a better term, every day at least the baseline intake. And if something is not going well, I up it for a while until it comes right. So if I had a gammy hip, I would probably have been taking it beforehand quite a bit.
Yeah.
You will need to advise the surgeon that that's the case, because inherently Stem Enhance contains quite a bit of vitamin K, which can cause your blood to be more likely to clot. So the surgeon needs to know so that they can adjust for that, basically. But the most benefit after the procedure, obviously, is in the stem cells that you release after the procedure, so that they can help repair the surgical injury and reduce the inflammation, etc., etc., etc. So, yeah, good nuance, good input there. Excellent. Fermented cucumbers are yuck. Agreed. Yes. Absolutely agreed. Right. Where are all the questions? Have the questions all dried up? They seem to be at the bottom of the questions window. Talk amongst yourselves while we're waiting for questions. While we're waiting for that, let's throw in another promotion for the 24-hour continuous live stream that Stephen is going to be hosting on his fine channel, which is Coach Stephen. That's your YouTube channel, isn't it? Coach Stephen, at Coach Stephen. Yep. And that's in a few days' time for 24 hours, and the lineup is fabulous. Fabulous it is.
Yeah. Yes. Let me just get a link. Shall I put a link?
Yes, please.
To it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's do a link to the first bit, and then so how it works is the software. Get a shareable link. So the software StreamYard does not do 24 hours. It does it records up to 50 hours, but you have to do different links. All right. So I've had to split the links up. So let's go into the chat, and I will put the link to the first 8 hours in the chat, in our meeting chat, and if you can then put it on the screen. You can click on that, and then you will be able to follow through for part 2 and part 3. Yeah. And you'll be able to get notified. But yeah, the 24-hour live stream. So last year, Richard Smith and I, the Keto Pro, we decided to do this 24-hour carnivore conversation. We was the world's first people to do this 24-hour carnivore conversation live stream, and we invited a ton of guests like Sean Baker. I'm going to mention a couple of guests from last year who couldn't make it this year, like Kevin Stock, Dr. Kevin Stock, Judy Cho, all these sort of people. We've still got Sean Baker, Dr. Chafee, Ken Berry, loads and loads of guests coming in. Jonathan is going to be here, the Carnivore Muscle. The UK Carnivore is me. We've got the Kent Carnivore, which is Lee. We've got the Keto Pro, which is Richard. And the idea is for you to come on, like we're doing now, and just put your questions to these people. And it's just going to be guests after guest after guest. We've got some guests that aren't on the list that, you know, secretly are going to try and get on. So big secret is things like Keto Savage is going to try and get on. We've also got Serena Music is secretly trying to get on. Casey Ruff is secretly going to try and get on. Nice. So the idea is that we're going to get people coming in. So I don't know, Bart, if you manage to have 10 minutes, you could try and pop in. I know you're busy. All right. So that the idea is going to be fun, but you will still be able to get something out of it if you're interested in asking Dr. Chafee, hey, Dr. Chafee, why are you so anti-coffee? And he will give you an answer. You see, this is it. It's just simply your opportunity to get these people who often don't have enough time, you know, on their own live streams because maybe they're doing it for an hour or whatever, or it's just for members. So this is open for everybody. There's no donations, there's nothing like that. But obviously they will be telling you about their services. So we've got Kerry Mann coming on, who's trying to do this big documentary about carnivore. Well, he's got a sort of a donation link, which he will be able to tell you about. And you'll go, yeah, that's good. I want to do that. I want to support this. So that's the idea. I mean, Ken Berry came onto my channel and we talked about his alternative to the American Diabetes Association, because he's set up this American Diabetes Society. You know, he's got some great people behind him. He's got people like Ben Bickman and Eric Westman and all that. They're all trying to do this alternative diabetic society. And we put in the description the GoFundMe page. I know I'm not a big fan of GoFundMe, but that's who they've chosen. So it's also a way for you as a viewer to be able to do something to help spread the word. Also, the fact that it's on for 24 hours, it makes it very difficult for YouTube to, as Bart mentioned, alluded to earlier, you know, shadow ban. I'm having problems with that. Ever since I did that interview with Ken Berry, my numbers have plummeted a bit. The views have gone down a bit. Because when you are going against the mainstream narrative, you get hidden, you know, and that's the truth of the matter. So we need more and more people to click on, to watch, to share, to like, to comment, and just get the word out. And the idea is that over 24 hours, we should be able to get some traction. Obviously, you know, like Dr. Chafee is doing a simultaneous broadcast to his channel. So, you know, we're going to get bigger numbers coming in from the outside. Hopefully they'll see Richard and think, wow, this guy's good. I'll go and log on to his channel and it will be good for everybody. That's what we're doing it for. Bart, you were brilliant last year. You know, I think You suffered actually because we were doing that changeover. So this year I've learned from StreamYard being rubbish. And I think we're both on the same wavelength about some of these platforms. Because before I did the live stream last year, I actually said to them, can I do 24-hour live stream? And they went, yes, categorically, you can record up to 50 hours. When it came to it, they couldn't do it. And that really hacked me off. Well, this year, it should be better. I should be a better host as well. I don't tell many people this because I'm a bit embarrassed, but I just didn't believe people would turn up. You know, I'm a very small fish in a very big pond. I'm in the UK, and I thought, well, there's no way Sean Baker, even though I worked at MeatRx, there's no way he's actually going to turn up. There's no way Anthony Chapey's really going to do 3 hours. Is Robert Kilt's really going to turn up? But of course, they all did. But I was so worried every single hour when the next guest was due to come on. I was missing what was going on in the room. And I watched a playback of when Sean first comes in, and he asked me a flat out straight question, and I just completely blank it. I'm like, I'm not present. I'm just looking who else is coming on. So this year I'm going to try and be a bit more, you know, on it, less worried about whether the guest is going to turn up or not. And
Absolutely.
Really enjoy the experience.
You bet. I'd like to jump on that too, also because of Daniel's comment here. I've missed a super chat from you, Daniel. I apologize for that. It's very, very difficult when you're doing it all yourself, when you don't have a co-conspirator who's actually actively reading, sifting the comments, putting them up for you, like what Pim does for me on a weekly basis on the live streams. To be honest, we have to be honest, Ted is about as useful as a chocolate teapot in terms of keeping the vibe of the show rolling. His absolute skills are in the knob twiddling. Good boy, Ted. You keep doing that. But anyway, your question was, want to adapt to carnivore? Good, takes time. Coming from keto, okay, that's as it is. After eating red meat, my eczema gets worse, especially fast-cooked meat. Is histamine intolerance likely? Sure, it's one of many possibilities. Really, for that kind of very honed in, very specific to you questions, probably best to get yourself an hour's consultancy with me. We can sit down, I can get your history for an hour, and I can give you a sensible answer. Feel free to do that. The link will be under this video in the show notes. It's that bit.ly link. You click on that, and there's link-offs from there for Cerule, consultancy, merchandise. You can get this fine mug or others, and they come in right-handed versions as well. T-shirts, all manner of Ted paraphernalia. All hail Ted. Ted is the science. Trust Ted. Yeah. Okay, so it seems like questions are winding down, which is fine. We've been going best part of an hour and 20 minutes. If you would like to have anything answered in the next, say, 10 minutes before we decide to close off, best you put that up in the chat window now. Best you append a super chat, however small, because that will bring it to Ted's attention. His attention span is like so. He needs money, does Ted? He's completely mercurial. And so if you attach a super chat, then that will probably come to light in the next 10 minutes or so. While that's happening, really all that remains for me is to thank Coach Stephen Thomas very, very much for his very valuable time this morning. And once again, apologise for my inability to attend to the live stream this year. It's one of those things, I guess. And what's coming up on the channel is some more good interviews with various folks that I've been undertaking. I've actually got quite a stock of interviews in the can. I've taken on an editor, and I'm working with that editor to get him to the place where I want him to be and to get his thoughts on where he wants to be, and it's all of that. So it takes a bit of time. So there's been a bit of a lull in the production and posting of pre-recorded videos. That will improve over the next few weeks as we get our heads together, myself and said editor. So we'll be looking forward to that. Also, I suspect that in the interim, that one or two folks may well come online and say things that are not correct, and as such, they will make themselves liable for a video made by yours truly, and perhaps one small yellow teddy bear who tends to be a bit verbose at times when he does get going. I think we're done with James to Nicolay no balls. It's a bit pointless, frankly. Absolutely, I think we've done that one to death. But yes, there it is. Right. Will long-term cerule intake decrease the body's own capabilities to release stem cells, similar to taking steroids will decrease the body's own testosterone production? There's no evidence for that extant anywhere that's published. There's also no anecdotal experiences where people have flatlined out on their stem cells, or it's all gone wrong in that regard. The short answer to that is there doesn't seem to be any such issue. Personally, I've been taking this stuff 15 years. That's probably long enough to be a problem if there was going to be one. And I've taken up to the 16 a day at various times when I've done silly things like play an elegant cover drive, say, yes, one there, taken off on my left foot for said 22-yard journey to the other end, only to get 3 paces down, snap, bang, Achilles tendon gone, pile on the floor, bubble, 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 lots and lots of, oh shit, that's not so good. Yeah, so it was quite handy in that regard, for example. Also, just before we close off, just a reminder that you can absolutely get access to cerule products for retail from the address above Stephen's head right now. That's Stephen's cerule store up there. There it is, onlinecoach.cerule.com. And you can buy product there retail if you want to. Or you can get wellness packs, which are cheaper than buying those products individually. Also, if you get wellness packs, you won't pay for shipping anymore. So you get something like an 18 to 20% discount, something like that, by getting wellness packs instead of individual bottles of product. If you'd like your product for free, you can contact us for exact terms and conditions, but the take home on that is very simple. Join us as an IBO, an independent business owner, much like what myself and Stephen both are in your own right, and find 3 retail customers to purchase a wellness pack monthly. And once you've got that set up and your 3 monthly wellness pack orders are going through, the company goes, gosh, look at that. Gosh, gosh, gosh. We don't need to charge you for yours anymore, and we'll send it to you for free. Free, I tells you. That's what I mean by I want you on it, but I don't want you paying for it. Very, very easy for anyone to do. Today's a great day to start doing that. Right. How am I finding working with my editor? It's good because it saves a lot of time and will save much more time in future with the stuff that needs doing. It's a challenge in that 2 separate personalities with 2 different views on how it should be done, and getting our heads together and me focusing on what's absolutely important for me and what I can just sort of let him have. So, okay, fine, do it that way if you want. So there's a bit of that. It's a process. We'll get there. So but it will save me a number of hours a week ongoingly. So that'll be good. Yeah, that's all. Stephen, how would you like to close off?
Well, I want to go back to what Daniel was saying about his eczema and thinking about food.
Yeah.
And just going broader. You're absolutely right. That's the sort of thing that needs a consult really when it's very individual. But it isn't always about food. That could be an environmental trigger. That's a thing. Even if you're eating, I don't know, barbecue ribs and then you have a flare up, that could be a coincidence. Because it could be like soaps, detergents, fragrances, fabrics, wool, dust mites, pollen. There's loads of things, changes in temperature. So I think it isn't always about food, especially with eczema. Eczema can be other things as well. So I just wanted to say that. So how will I close up? Firstly, I hope and pray that everyone will log into the 24-hour live stream because I've got all these guests. Be nice to have some viewers.
Mm-hmm.
We had loads last year, in the hundreds and thousands. So we're pretty happy with the viewing figures last year. Hopefully this will be bigger. I think you mentioned earlier, would I be doing it again next year? So you could come on. Yep. That's the only reason for doing it. Only reason is to get Bart K to do one again and give him a proper hour. And Ted, be great to have him.
Yep.
Definitely.
Failure to attend the live stream in a few days, Ted was just telling me, will result in a late night visit from Ted, and he will bring his bucket of soapy frogs and his wetsuit with the bottom cut out. You don't want that.
Okay. I might put that on my advertising.
Yes.
Quite snappy.
Very good. Yes. Studies show that not attending the live stream leads to
soapy frogs
and wetsuits with the bottom cut out. Studies show. Absolutely. Here's a study that absolutely proves Bart K. wrong. Good, James. Good.
Yes.
A study with no data of any kind in it at all. Just some opinions.
Yes. Critiques and opinions.
Yes. Lovely. Lovely. All right.
I use a lot of those.
Yep. All right, Stephen, thank you very much for your time. Sorry about the live stream, as you say. That's how it is. Next year, I'll be there with bells on. In the meantime, Pim will wave the flag for the both of us. She will be attending still, and that will be very, very good. Don't miss that list of guests, because it really is a who's who of carnivory and such. In the meantime, thank you all for your participation today. Thank you for those of you who did super chat, even though Ted wasn't able to keep up with that necessarily and bring them all up on the screen. The funds are appreciated, and they will go towards Ted's appearance fee, which is quite exorbitant, because those of you that don't know, Ted's other gig is doing the voice for the fictional character Brian Blessed. So he thinks himself quite important and charges accordingly. In the meantime, all that remains is for us to both say bye-bye nicely, and we'll catch up with you around the traps. My channel will be kicking back into action again next week. Until then,
excellent.
Be well, fellow citizens. Be well. See you then.
Bye.